Okay, so hey guys, and welcome back to another Sport This Week video. And in today's video we have baseball, basketball, cricket, tennis, football, UFC, boxing, F1, and yeah, that is all the sports. I was trying to keep track then. But yeah, if you are new around here, please subscribe, like the video if you do need like video, and let's get straight into it. So starting off, I'm going to start off with the baseball news this week, as it is the final of the playoffs, and that means there probably won't be much baseball news for a little while until the season starts back up again. But in the final game, Astros won 9-5 versus Braves, which meant they won 4-2 in the playoffs, and they get their first world title since 1995. Sorry about that, I've got hiccups. Moving on to the basketball news now, though. Lakers won 95-85 versus Rockets. 76ers won 113-103 versus Blazers. Bulls won 128-114 versus Celtics. Clippers won 99-94 versus Thunder. Heat won 125-110 versus Mavericks. Lakers won 119-117 versus Rockets. Celtics won 92-79 versus Magic. 76ers won 103-98 versus Bulls. Clippers won 126-115 versus Timberwolves. 76ers won 190-98 versus Pistons. Celtics won 95-78 versus Heat. Lakers lost 107-104 versus Thunder. Clippers won 104-84 versus Timberwolves. Heat won 118-115 versus Jazz. 76ers won 114-105 versus Bulls. Celtics won 104-100. Celtics lost 107-104 versus Mavericks. And Lakers lost 105-90 versus Trailblazers. And yeah, that is all the basketball news. Moving on to the cricket news now, where England won 163 versus Sri Lanka, and South Africa won 189-179 versus England. So a win and a loss for England. It's going alright in the T20 World Cup for us, top of the group, but suffering our first loss of the tournament, which isn't ideal. But yeah, that is all the cricket news. Moving on to the tennis, where it was the Paris Masters this week. Djokovic and Krajinovic won 2-1 versus De Minaur and Saville. Tsitsipas and Kowechi lost 2-0 versus Bonzi and Rinderknech. Djokovic won 2-1 versus Fushvovics. I'm not too sure how to pronounce his names. Zverev won 2-0 versus Lajovic. Medvedev won 2-0 versus Ivashka. Zverev won 2-1 versus Dimitrov. Medvedev won 2-1 versus Korda. Djokovic won 2-0 versus Fritz. Medvedev won 2-0 versus Gaston. Zverev won 2-0 versus Rude. Djokovic won 2-0 versus Hurkacz. Medvedev won 2-0 versus Zverev. Djokovic won 2-1 versus Medvedev to win the Paris Masters solo males, and Puets plus Venus won 2-1 versus Herbert plus Mahut to win the Paris doubles Masters. So congratulations to both of them. Nice to see Djokovic getting another win. Moving on to the football news now, though, where start of the week, Nuno got sacked by Spurs and quickly replaced by Antonio Conte, who is a big appointment for them, really. Moving on to Champions League, Wolfsburg won 2-1 versus Salzburg. Chelsea won 1-0 versus Malmo. Barcelona won 1-0 versus Kiev. Bayern won 5-2 versus Benfica. Villarreal won 2-0 versus Young Boys. Atalanta drew 2-2 versus Man U. Lille won 2-1 versus Sevilla. Juventus won 4-2 versus Zenit. Milan drew 1-1 versus Porto. Real Madrid won 2-1 versus Shakhtar. Man City won 4-1 versus Bruges. Leipzig drew 2-2 versus PSG. Liverpool won 2-0 versus Atletico. Sporting won 4-0 versus Besiktas. Ajax won 3-1 versus Dortmund. Inter won 3-1 versus Sheriff. And then it was the England squad that was announced for the international break that is next week. And the only kind of interesting things is that Sancho's out, and Arnold, Rashford and Bellingham are all back in. Moving on to the Europa League now, though. Rangers drew 1-1 versus Brøndby. Lyon won 3-0 versus Sparta Prague. Sociedad drew 1-1 versus Sturm. PSV drew 0-0 versus Monaco. Napoli won 4-1 versus Legia. Frankfurt won 2-1 versus Olympiacos. Galatasaray drew 1-1 versus Lokomotiv. Genk drew 2-2 versus West Ham. Spurs won 3-2 versus Vitesse. Leicester drew 1-1 versus Spartak. Fenerbahce won 3-0 versus Antwerp. Lazio drew 2-2 versus Marseille. Midtjylland won 1-0 versus Cervena Zvezda. Braga won 4-2 versus Ludogorets. Celtic won 3-2 versus Ferencvaros. Leverkusen won 4-0 versus Betis. Zagreb won 3-1 versus Vienna. Chalobah has signed a new contract with Chelsea until 2026. Barella has signed a new contract with Inter until 2026. And then moving on to the league games. Southampton won 1-0 versus Villa. Xavi became the new Barcelona manager. Warnock was sacked by Middlesbrough. Man City won 2-0 versus Norwich. Versus Man U. Norwich won 2-1 versus Brentford. Palace won 2-0 versus Wolves. Chelsea drew 1-1 versus Burnley. Farke has been sacked by Norwich. Brighton drew 1-1 versus Newcastle. Leipzig won 2-1 versus Dortmund. Celta Vigo drew 3-3 versus Barcelona. Wilder is the new Middlesbrough manager. Villa has sacked Smith. Arsenal won 1-0 versus Watford. Spurs drew 0-0 versus Everton. Leicester drew 1-1 versus Leeds. Valencia drew 3-3 versus Atletico. West Ham won 3-2 versus Liverpool. Sevilla won 2-0 versus Betis. And Inter drew 1-1 versus Milan. And yeah, that is all the football news. Quite a lot this week. And yeah, moving on now though. I'm going to go to the boxing news, where some big boxing news, as I don't know if anybody's seen my predictions video, but I did predict this fight, which I did end up getting right. Canelo won by a KO in the 11th round versus Plant to become the first undisputed super middleweight champion in boxing history. So fair play to him. I mean, I literally predicted it perfectly. I'm pretty sure I said a late knockout by Cancelo, or a late stoppage by Cancelo, and it did kind of finish like that. And then moving on to the UFC, where Vera won in round 3 versus Edgar. Gaethje won via decision versus Chandler. And then the Usman fight, I'm also pretty sure I did get that right as well. He won by decision versus Covington to remain welterweight champion. I'm pretty sure I predicted him to win by decision. I might be wrong, but I think I did. And yeah, that is all the UFC. Moving on to the final sport, which is F1, where it's the Mexico Grand Prix, where Bottas started on pole, Hamilton started second, and Verstappen started third. And it ended Verstappen winning, Hamilton finishing second, and Perez finishing third. Which means Verstappen's gaining an even bigger gap towards, away from Hamilton, and Red Bull are catching up Mercedes in the team's standings, and constructors' standings, I think that's what it's called. But yeah, that is it for today's video. Hope you have enjoyed. If you are new around here and you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. Like the video if you didn't like the video, and thanks for watching.